Sometimes friendship can be the strongest magic there is. Hello and welcome to Game Tales, our weekly feature where we recite the stories of D&D players and the many goings-on in their adventures. Today's story comes from yours truly. It is set in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, and it takes place in the Curse of Strahd module. Without further ado, I am the Penitent with College of Lore. This is Game Tales. Take a moment to like the video and subscribe as I tell you the tale of all my friends. So, fair warning, Curse of Strahd spoilers ahead for Kresk and the Abbey above it. The party doesn't super matter here. It's notable that the character this all centers on is a Eladrin sorcerer named Daedave. The party is big, and there are a lot of edgy people, her aside. She is very soft and bright and kind of this loves-everyone type person. It's also worth noting the party is traveling with Irina and Ismark from the canon characters in the book. They've also been watched over by a mysterious figure, a god, they're under the impression of, that is helping them at a terrible cost, though they haven't learned what that cost is yet. The party has, well, not traveled with, they've made allies with Van Richten at this point, Rudolf Van Richten, the character from the book, who kind of is available to them should they need him, but isn't directly coming up with them to the Abbey. Kresk, you kind of go in and you meet this very kind of cursed and messed up village, kind of similar to Barovia, but also not in a lot of ways. And there are people to help out, and while most of the party wanted to get done and kind of get straight through to the Abbey, Daedave kind of offered to help anyone who needed it in the village first, and was kind of well-liked, and she liked back the people in this village. Eventually the party does ascend to the Abbey looking for, I believe they were looking for one of the magic items needed to slay Strahd, I believe the last one, the Sun Sword. And they ascend up to this abbey, and they find the abbot, this young-looking, attractive man. And they ask him about the Sun Sword, and immediately he tells them that they're in luck, and he actually knows where it is. He leads them all through this abbey, kind of ducking past the corrupted mongrel folk to not really expose the party to them. And he leads them to a large room with a huge baptismal font. It's a third-floor room, and the font seems to extend all the way down to the bottom floor. Many of the players are suspect of it, but Irina actually does run up to the pool and kind of look into it. And what she sees when she looks in the pool is Sergei, the face of Tatiana, the woman that Strahd was originally after, the face of her lover. And she fails a wisdom save that I rolled behind a screen. And she starts to reach her hand out to the pool. This is the canonical ending for Curse of Strahd here. I realized until now I forgot to say I was DMing, so that's fun. I was DMing this game, yes. And the canonical ending for Irina here is that she finds Sergei's soul and goes to be with him in this, like, pool mirror dimension thing. It's weird, and I've never been a fan of it. So I ended up making it a trap, and as she reaches down, a member of the party she's gotten close to, a member who would later reveal to be Sergei's actual reincarnation, kind of goes to grab her hand, and as he does this, a hand reaches out of the pool and pulls her in to this large baptismal font. Now, of course, the players panic immediately. The abbot kind of turns towards them and starts to transform into this kind of twisted, angelic, like a biblical angel-looking being. And the fight is on. At this point, the party is ready to engage with the abbot, and some of them are ready to go after Irina into this pool. And wouldn't you know it, the figure that looked like Sergei is Strahd himself, which immediately confirms that, you know, this ground that's supposed to be hallowed and supposed to be free of vampires is definitely not anymore. So, a few players dive into the pool to get after Strahd, while the rest of them engage with this very powerful celestial being, who's also, I believe, accompanied by a flesh golem. And the fight goes on for a bit. You know, I know that the fighter that reveals to eventually be Sergei's reincarnation dives in. I know another kind of homebrew brawler class jumps in. And a Vistani rogue. The Vistani part becomes relevant because while fighting for escape, while fighting for survival, the Vistani uses her ability to basically cast Hold Person on Strahd. And behind the curtain, I'll admit that I basically just forgot that Legendary Resistance exists, so more power to the player there. And they do eventually kind of get Irina away from Strahd. They get the Sun Sword out of here. They find it at the bottom of the pool. That was actually truthful. And they're ready to kind of book it out of here as fast as possible, but we still have a player who's casting Hold Person on Strahd and just having to maintain this gaze. So they either leave her to drown, and they get away, or they take her with them, and of course they choose to take her with them, which breaks the line of sight with Strahd and immediately ends the Hold Person, so they have to run. Luckily, the abbot was killed in the time it took to wrestle her out of the pool, so they can just kind of book it, but as they run, the roof starts to collapse, and they, again, just have to hurry as fast as possible. Strahd is not slowed by the barriers like things collapsing or needing to walk, as he can basically effortlessly float, and he can launch range attacks and kind of effortlessly kind of stand at this range and cast fireballs, and it's a whole thing that ends up very bad for the party. Trying to escape from Strahd is generally not advised or possible. Strahd takes down several people. Notably, he does not take down Daedave, the sorcerer, but he takes down basically all of the martial classes. And Daedave, she's holding the thing to communicate with Van Richten, so she taps on that and just says, "We need help immediately." This kind of magic wagon, I've kind of altered it so it can teleport a bit, flickers in, and the second it's in there, Strahd just, pauses and fireball. And immediately the wagon is just engulfed in flames. The people that have come to help, that work for Van Richten, are badly hurt. And at this point, Strahd is just reveling in his victory, kind of picking things off at this point, stabbing, one of Van Richten's trusted advisors, and killing them. And stabbing one of the players that had really pissed off Strahd in an earlier encounter. And he has not lost much of his health at this point, so he's just kind of relishing in his victory. He's drinking it all in. At a certain point, this party, it probably had, with NPCs, 13, 14 people, but Strahd has downed all but 3 of them, which is Daedave the sorcerer, her mother, the homebrew brawler, and Irina. And the brawler's only about 5 health, but she does engage. And then everything freezes. Time stops. A visage appears. This visage of a dark-skinned woman in a long black dress. The woman that had appeared to them before, this godlike being who would later be identified as Shar. Which, if you want to know more about how we handle gods and godly morality, especially with an evil god, there will be more information on that in future videos. She hands Daedave a necklace, one wish, and she wishes her luck, fading. She has used all the limited power she can use while in Barovia. The sorcerer looks at this. It is very risky, and behind the scenes I was a bit afraid to give my players a wish spell at such a low level, but I, for narrative reasons, trusted them and trusted that they could handle something like this, and that they would be able to essentially make a good call that wouldn't ruin the game. And I was right, because the sorcerer wished, exact words, "All my friends were okay." And light starts to wash over the party as time kind of kicks back in. And there's a pause as Strahd looks at this light, before he is stabbed in the back by Van Richten's cane sword. And he's used a lot of spell slots at this point, and he has taken some damage, and seeing this large party now all back at full health, he is furious, but he doesn't want to go through the effort to take all of them on at this point without the nature of surprise that he had come into this with, so he flies off and leaves them. The party barely survived, but they did, so they kind of all pile onto the very damaged wagon and make their way back down the mountain towards the village of Kresk. When they get there, they see nothing but bloody corpses laying in the snow. It is a massacre. The village they left full of healthy, living people, people they helped, people they fixed menial problems for to get their life together, people Daedave fixed menial problems for, are all lying dead, just strewn about the city. And it's very clear at this point, from bite marks, from fire, from necrotic damage oozing from these wounds, that this was Strahd's doing. And it kind of slowly hits the party members one by one. We brought Strahd here. We pissed Strahd off, and these people are dead because he threw a temper tantrum because he lost, or his victory was delayed against us. They could feel the bodies were still warm, and they did their best to do a mass grave, but there wasn't much that could be done. So they set off, and they were dead silent as they returned to Van Richten's tower, and they were going to stay there for the night. The sorcerer who had made the wish, Daedave, she is talking to the blood hunter of the party and the cleric. And these are two of the most jaded members of a very edgy party. And she is distraught. She's kind of more innocent. She's very peaceful and loving, and she's never seen that much mass death before. So the cleric kind of looks at her and she says, you know, people die, you have to get used to it, you have to move on. And then there's a knock at the door. A drow woman in very ill-fitting clothes is at the door. A group of various other races, some human, some dwarf, some tiefling, elf, Aasimar, they're all in a group behind her. And the drow woman kind of looks at Daedave and asks, "You're Daedave, yes?" To which she immediately just kind of nods. And the drow continues, "We all woke up, our heads were fuzzy, but we all got the sense to seek you out to thank you. My name is, or was, Dmitry Kreskov. Do you remember me?" Dmitry Kreskov, of course, is the burgomaster of the village of Kresk, and someone that she had personally sought out to help on multiple different occasions while they were in the village. What happened was this. She wished all her friends would be alright. For most people, they would mean close friends, maybe not even the whole party, but Daedave has her heart open to everyone, and got to know the people of Kresk by helping them, and just by virtue of the fact that they stood on the side that was against Strahd, the same side that she stood on. Because Strahd killed the town technically after the wish took place, there wasn't enough the magic could do to just resurrect them all like it did the party, but there was enough magical energy and just desire in Daedave's heart. She was still holding on to the necklace that had lost its magic, that it was able to cast resurrection on all of them, which can change race, gender, age of the bodies that are coming back, and did for a lot of these people, adding some racial diversity that doesn't really exist in canonical Barovia. And this kind of inspires hope. This is the moment where they feel like maybe Strahd isn't all-powerful here, and maybe Strahd can be toppled, can be beaten, and maybe hope and strength in numbers is enough. And these people, they relocated largely to Vallaki, but they stood with the party, they campaigned for the party, and they helped the party during an encounter with Izek Strozny, one of the worse and more aggressive villains in Vallaki. One of the bigger things that happens is, at some point, a little bit down the line, the players go back to Barovia a few years canonically after all of this, when Strahd has been slain, and Barovia has been free for a while, and it's worth noting that now Vallaki is more of a melting pot, and there are several people here that are, you know, interracial children, interracial relationships, more drow, tiefling, Aasimar, all of these things. And this has been something that's kind of lived on in the collective memory of our group for a while, and it would only work for this character, and it's why I'm glad that she survived this long and was available for the god to give her the wish to, because it was a crucial moment and kind of a turning point in the campaign, and it only worked with her because the wish did save all her friends. Thank you for watching. If you have any of your own D&D stories, tell us in the comments or email us and we may read them here in the future. Thank you for watching this video from College of Lore. Remember to like this video, subscribe to join the party, and have a fantastic adventure.